Hi, in this video we will read few questions which were asked in previous year papers related to ROP. So in this one we will discuss 3-4 questions related to that. Let's read first question about the ROP screening and the screening guidelines of ROP. So retinopathy of prematurity is emerging as one of the leading cause of preventable childhood blindness in India. This is very important to know that it is a leading cause of a preventable childhood blindness in India. So screening for ROP should be performed in home. It should be done in it should be done in all the preterm neonates who are born at less than 34 weeks of gestation or less than 1.75 kg birth weight, that is less than 1750 grams. Babies between 34 to 36 weeks of gestation or 1750 to 2000 grams birth weight if they have risk factors for ROP. In these patients, the screening should be performed. Fine. Who are they? If the neonates who are born at less than 34 weeks of gestation or less than 1750 grams of birth weight, or between other two, that is 34 to 36 weeks of gestation when, or 1750 to 2000 grams if they have risk factors. Now what are the risk factors for the ROP? First one we saw, right, the birth weight of less than 1700, gestational age at birth of less than 34 weeks, exposed to oxygen for more than 30 days. Infants born at less than 28 weeks and weighing less than 1200 grams are particularly at high risk of developing severe form of ROP. Presence of other factors such as the respiratory distress syndrome, sepsis, multiple blood transfusions, multiple birth, twins or triplets, and apneic episodes and intraventricular hemorrhage. All these are also risk factors for the ROP. Now coming to the timing for screening, for ROP screening. The first The first retinal examination should be performed not later than 4 weeks or at age 30 days of life in infants born at more than 28 weeks of gestation. Fine. So the infants who are born at more than 28 weeks of gestation, their retinal examination should be performed not later than 4 weeks or as 30 days of life. And infants who are born at less than 28 weeks or less than 1200 grams of birth weight should be screened early. They should be screened early by 2 to 3 weeks of age to enable the early identification of this ROP. Fine. The retinal findings should be classified and documented based on the internal classification of retinopathy of prematurity guidelines. Follow-up examination should be based on the retinal findings and should be continue until complete vascularization or regressing ROP is documented. Fine. When the follow-up need to be done, follow-up examination should be based on the retinal findings. They are based on what? Retinal findings, and should be continued until there is complete vascularization of the retina or there is regressing ROP is documented, or until treated based on the ETROP guidelines. Fine. So this was all about the screening of ROP. Let's revise it. In whom we have to screen? We have to screen the preterm neonates who are born at less than 34 weeks of gestation or less than 1750 grams. Babies between 34 to 36 weeks of gestation or the 1750 to 2000 grams of the birth weight, if they have risk factors for ROP, then we have to screen them. We read about the risk factors for the ROP: birth weight less than 1700, gestation age less than 34, exposed to oxygen for more than 28 days, infants born at less than 28 weeks and less than 1200 grams are at risk of developing severe form of ROP, and other risk factors such as respiratory distress, sepsis, multiple transfusions, multiple births, and apneic episodes and intraventricular hemorrhage. Now the timing of screening also. ROP screening also we saw, and infants born at more than 28 weeks of gestation should be screened at not later than 4 weeks or 30 days of life, and infants born at less than 28 weeks or less than 1200 grams, they should be screened early by 2 to 3 weeks of the age to enable the early determination of this ROP. Also, follow-up examination need to be done, and they are based on the retinal finding, and they should continue until the complete vascularization or regressing ROP is documented, or until treated based on the ETROP guidelines. So let's look at the another question which was asked in ROP. Fine, this is the second question. In this, we are going to read about ROP, retinopathy of prematurity, and its grades. Also, retinopathy of prematurity. These are the PYQs. Let's start. Retinopathy of prematurity is a complex disease of developing retinal vasculature in the infants who are born prematurely. So, what is the problem here? There is problem in the retinal vasculature in infants who are born prematurely. It may be acute or it may be chronic. Clinical manifestation range from mild, usually transient changes of the peripheral retina to severe progressive proliferative vasoproliferative scarring and potentially blinding retinal detachment can also occur. So the manifestation, they have a very wide range. ROP includes all the stages of the disease and its sequelae. Retina is divided into three zones, and the extent or severity of retinopathy in these zones is classified in terms of five stages. So, staging of ROP as per the International Classification of Retinopathy of Prematurity, ICROP, describe vascularization of the retina and characterizes the ROP by its location of the retinal involvement by the zone, extent of the retinal involvement by clock hour, and the stage of the disease at the junction of the avascular and vascular retina. So let's first look at the location of the disease. Zones are centered around the optic disc and not the macula. This is something we should know, that zones are what? Centered around the optic disc. Zone, there is something called zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Zone 1 is the innermost zone, is a circle, the radius of which extends from the center of the optic disc to twice the distance from the center of the optic disc to the macula. Right. This is not something. Extends from the center of the optic disc to the center of the macula. Zone 2, it extends centrifugally from the edge of zone 1 to the nasal ora serrata, and zone 3, residual crescent of the retina temporal to the second zone. Right. So this was first, uh, it was divided into on the basis of location, right? So this was the first location of the disease. Then these are the zones. This is the zone 1, this is the zone 2, and this one is the last one is the zone 3. Zone 2 is uh, on the nasal side, and zone 3 is on the temporal side. Now, there is something also called as the extent of disease. The extent of the retinal involvement is recorded as hours of the clock or as 30-degree sectors. Right? So, this was the extent, and third one is the stage of the disease. The clinical appearance of the stages of ROP is related to the appearance of the retinal vessels at the avascular vascular junction. More than one stage may be present in the same eye. Staging then is determined by the most severe manifestation that is present in the eye, right? Because many different stages are present in the same eye. So the one stage which is more severe will be the main to create the staging. Let's start. Immature or incompletely vascularized retina. This is seen prior to the development of ROP. What is seen prior to the development of ROP? There is immature or incompletely vascularized retina, and is characterized by dichotomous branching retinal vessels of normal caliber. So in this figure, figure 2, we are going to see the stages of retina, ROP, retinopathy of prematurity. Let's start with the first stage, a flat demarcating line. A flat demarcating line is seen delimiting the vascularized retina from the anterior vascular retina. See, this is the flat line which we are talking about in the stage 1. This is the line which is differentiating, basically making a difference. This part of the retina is vascularized and this part is not vascularized. This is differentiating it from the anterior. This is the anterior avascular retina. In abnormal branching or arcading of the vessels is seen leading up to the demarcation line. And what happens in the stage 2? The demarcation line develops into a ridge. The ridge is raised and has a volume. Earlier it was a flat line, now it has developed into a ridge. This demarcation line has its own is raised and has its volume. In the stage 3, the demarcation line in the stage 3, extraretinal neovascularization into the vitreous is seen with the development of abnormal shunt vessels at the ridge. So there are shunt vessels at the ridge which are present, and there is extraretinal neovascularization into the vitreous. This is important, that this is started in the stage 3. And in the stage 4, it is again divided into stage 4A and the stage 4B. In stage 4A, there is partial retinal detachment not involving the macula, and stage 4B, there is partial retinal detachment which is involving the macula. Right? See, the retinal detachment has started, but this is not involving the. There is A and then there is B. In A, the macular detachment is not involved, and it says B, macular detachment is uh, also macular part is also involved. Stage 5, the total retinal detachment is usually tractional and funnel shaped and presents as leukocoria or the white pupillary reflex. Right? There's total retinal detachment, which is usually tractional kind of, and a funnel shaped and presents as what leukocoria or white pupillary reflex. Stage 5 retinal detachment classifications have been revised to be more amenable to the standard eye exams. There is something called stage 5A, denotes a total retinal detachment with the optic nerve visible and open funnel configuration to the detachment. In stage 5B, it denotes the total retinal detachment with the optic nerve not visible, a closed funnel. And stage 5C includes the findings of the stage 5B along with the anterior segment anomalies like shallow anterior chamber or iridolenticulae adhesions and the corneal opacities. Right. So, with the optic nerve visible is the stage 5A. There is retinal detachment, total retinal detachment. In fact, there is total retinal detachment in all these three. But in the stage 5A, what is happening? There is optic nerve is visible and there is open funnel. In stage 5B, with the total retinal detachment, the optic nerve is not visible and it is a closed funnel. And stage 5C, this is basically total retinal detachment and optic nerve not visible in a closed funnel with anterior segment anomalies like shallow anterior chamber or iridolenticular adhesions and corneal opacities. Right. There is something called a plus disease. It refers to the venous dilation and the arteriolar tortuosity of the posterior retinal vessels in at least two quadrants of the eye. This is important. It is important to remember this. There is what? What happens in the plus disease? There is venous dilation and arteriolar tortuosity of what? Of posterior retinal vessels in at least two quadrants of the eye. Engorgement of the iris vessels, pupillary rigidity, and vitreous haze may also be seen. A plus symbol is added to the ROP stage number to designate the presence of a plus disease. There is something called pre-plus disease. This term is used to denote the vascular abnormalities of the posterior retina that are insufficient for the diagnosis of plus disease. Right, and but cannot be considered normal. They are not normal, but they are not at the level of the plus disease yet. That it is called as the pre-plus disease. There is something called as the aggressive posterior ROP, APROP. It was previously called as the type 2 ROP and the rush disease. It is a rapidly progressive severe form of ROP which if untreated can progress to stage 5 ROP, that is of complete retinal detachment. The features include posterior location, zone 1, and sometimes posterior zone 2, prominence of the plus disease, ill defined nature of the retinopathy, flat network of the neovascularization, and hemorrhages. So these all features will be seen in this aggressive posterior retinopathy of prematurity, right? It has a posterior location, it has a prominence of plus disease is present, the ill-defined nature of the retinopathy, flat network of neovascularization and hemorrhages. The earliest phase of the disease shows abnormal closed loop vessels with mild tortuosity that can develop into a full-blown picture in less than a week. Right. What will be seen in the earliest phase? There are abnormal closed loop vessels with mild tortuosity and they can develop into a full blown picture in less than a week. The disease does not proceed with the classical stages of 1 through 3. The diagnosis can be made on a single visit and does not require evaluation over time. Also remember, aggressive posterior ROP will now be renamed aggressive ROP or AROP. According to the new guidelines, this change has been done to better encompass the disease spectrum with an emphasis on the severity and the speed progression. AROP doesn't need to be present in very posterior zones for diagnosis, as in the case in larger infants, but should still be viewed and managed as an aggressive disease, similar to the way we manage the aggressive posterior ROP. Signs of the AROP include rapid development of the stage 3 with a plus disease, When we have to suspect this AROP, there is rapid development of the stage 3 with a plus disease, extremely anomalous vasculature with a shunting in the vessels, loop presence, flat appearing stage 3 without line or ridge demarcation. Now let's read the another question on retinopathy of prematurity. There will be a kind repetition, but also it will be a revision sort of. Let's start. It is a complex disease of developing retinal vasculature in premature infants. We know, right, that there is abnormality of the developing retinal vasculature. It may be acute or chronic. Clinical manifestation range from mild to severe progressive vasoproliferation to scarring and potentially blinding retinal detachment. What is seen in the pathogenesis? Because of poor pulmonary function, a state of relative retinal hypoxia occurs. This causes the upregulation of the VEGF, which in susceptible infants can cause abnormal fibrovascular growth because this is vascular endothelial growth factor. So it can sometimes cause abnormal fibrovascular growth. This neovascularization may lead to the scarring and vision loss. The first observation in the acute phase is the cessation of vasculogenesis, that is, abrupt termination of the vessels marked by a line in the retina. Marked line may then grow into a ridge composed of mesenchymal and endothelial cells and proceeds with the vascularization of the retina. It may progress to an abnormal proliferation of vessels out of the plane of the retina into the vitreous and over the surface of retina. Right. So there can be what? There can be abnormal proliferation in which the vessels are growing out of the plane of the retina into the vitreous. There is no blood supply in the vitreous normally, but there is blood vessels now growing into the vitreous and over the surface of retina. This follows cicatrization and the traction on the retina, leading to the retinal detachment. This all fibrovascular thing is now causing traction on the retina and leading to the retinal detachment, causing the tractional kind of retinal detachment. Moving on to the classification, the stage 1 is characterized by a thin demarcation line between the vascularized and non-vascularized retina. Stage 2 is classified by a ridge. Stage 3 by extraretinal fibrovascular proliferation. Stage 4 by a partial retinal detachment. Stage 5 by a total retinal detachment. And in the plus disease, there is presence of dilation and tortuosity of the retinal vessels at the posterior pole of the eye, also associated with the papillary rigidity and the vitreous haze. Now, coming to the clinical manifestations, fewer than 10% of the infants have progressed towards the severe disease with significant extraretinal vasoproliferation, cicatrization, detachment of the retina, and impairment of the vision. Okay, some are left with the retinal pigmentary changes, ragging of the retina, ectopia of the macula, retinal folds or retinal breaks may also be seen. There is leukocoria, that is the white reflex in the pupil. Some patients develop cataract, glaucoma, and signs of inflammation also. The end stage of the painful blind eye. The end stage is often what? A painful blind eye or a degenerated physical eye. The spectrum of the ROP also includes what? Myopia, which is often progressive and of a significant degree in infancy. Right. And the incidence of, in the spectrum of ROP, myopia also occurs. And the incidence of the anisometropia, strabismus, amblyopia, and nystagmus may also be increased in these patients. Coming to the screening, which we have already read, it is required in infants with a birth weight less than 1500 grams with gestational age of 32 weeks. This is what is written in the Cloharty. Right. We should remember this one. Birth weight of less than 1500 grams with gestational age of less than 32 weeks or less in selected infants with a birth weight of 1500 to 2000 grams or a gestational age of more than 32 weeks with an unstable clinical course, including those requiring the cardiorespiratory support. So, those who had respiratory distress syndrome or required oxygen for longer duration, they may also be screened for, even if the gestation age is more than 32 weeks and the weight is 1500, between 1500 to 2000 grams. When and how often to screen? For neonates of gestation age less than 28 weeks, we already read when less than 28 gestation age of 28 weeks or more, we have to screen at 1 month of age. That is 4 weeks postnatal age, whichever is later. Right. We have to screen them at either 32 weeks of postmenstrual age or 4 weeks of postnatal age, whichever is later. For the neonates of gestational age less than 28 weeks, we have to screen them at 31 weeks of postmenstrual age. Follow up examinations normally required every 1 to 2 weeks depending upon the ROP staging and should be recommended by examining ophthalmologist. How often? Every 1 to 2 weeks should be the follow up. That is depending upon the ROP staging. ROP screening can be terminated. When is the ROP screening terminated? Once there is complete vascularization of the retina without any ROP, or if the ROP has shown regression. This normally happens around 40 to 44 weeks of the postmenstrual age. Right? Now coming to the diagnosis. Dilate the pupil with the phenylephrine 2.5% and the tropicamide 0.5 to 1% and examined by the indirect ophthalmoscopy. In treatment, early treatment of the retinopathy of prematurity improves the structural and the visual outcomes. So, treatment of the ROP is based on the differentiation of the following types of the ROP: type 1 ROP and type 2 ROP. So, when we call it type 1 ROP? In zone 1, any stage ROP with plus disease, right? And in zone 1, if there is stage 3 ROP without plus disease also. Right. And for zone 2, the stage can be either 2 or 3 but with a plus disease. So mostly in type 1 ROP, plus disease is present. Right. And in type 2 ROP for zone 1, stage 1 or 2 without plus disease. Plus disease is not present in the type 2. And in the zone 2, stage 3, again without plus disease. So plus disease is present in the type 1 and in the type 2 without plus disease. Peripheral retinal ablation should be carried out for all the cases with type 1 ROP and continued serial examination are advised for type 2 ROP. Right. We have to do what? Peripheral retinal ablation need to be done, carried out for all the cases of type 1 ROP. And for type 2, we have to do serial examination. Diode laser is the treatment modality of choice. Now coming to the prevention part. Prevention of ROP ultimately depends on the prevention of premature birth and its complication. Right, because prematurity is is the main factor which is leading to this ROP. So if we want to prevent ROP, we have to prevent the premature birth and its complication. How can we prevent that? By giving the antenatal steroids, by judicious oxygen therapy, judicious blood transfusion, and vitamin E supplementation. Yeah, so this was all about ROP. Thank you.